Hello Swabbies, MixelPlx here, and today we're going to be talking about the Helm in Skull and Bones. Now the Helm, if you're unaware, is basically the endgame mechanic of Skull and Bones. Is one of the things you're going to be spending most of your time in once you hit the infamy level of Kingpin. Now once you do the starter quest for it, you're going to end up running to the Helm location or the barkeep. Now before we get into basically explaining every bit of the Helm, I want to show off the rewards and what you can spend your currency on. Now you're gonna go to Unita here over at St. Anne.
It buoys me to see you.
Eventually you will open up the ability to see the black market, and then when you open the black market here, you see she sells everything from raw material to different weaponry, from green quality, blue quality, to even epics. Now these epics are not going to be used for pieces of 8. They're going to be used for the currency called sovereigns, which are granted in a host of different ways you can get them, and we'll explain that a little bit later. But basically, the more pieces of 8 that you earn, eventually you will be put into different tiers brackets, and when you do get in those next tiers, you're granted 400 to 500 sovereign, which is really nice. Mind you, you can get these different items from different outlets as well, including cutthroat cargo. But for the sake of this video, we're just going to be talking about the Helm. As you see here, you can get the Twin Witch Ballista, the Dardanelli's gun, which is really good, Rama's Ambition, and a few different furniture pieces and cosmetics you've probably seen either at the shipwright or the outfit NPC. So there's a lot of things you can do with this currency, and you're probably wondering, how do you earn it? So let's go ahead and go into the Helm, and we'll break it down as fast and as quickly as possible. I'm not going to try and overcomplicate it if I can, because I think this is already super confusing if you look too deep into it. So we're going to go and hit every station. I'll explain as best I can. So let's get it going. So here you have the Distillery. So when you do the Helm, you're going to need raw material, such as sugarcane, poppies, and stuff like that. And then you're going to manufacture that into product. So as you can see here, sugarcane, which is basically the basic material for this rum, if we wanted to refine this to make white skull rum, you could. Same with gin, we need juniper berries and so on and so forth. Which these will eventually be something you want to either sell to Skurlock for silver, or if you want to do deliveries for some pieces of 8, I'll show you just exactly how you can do that momentarily. But this is a kind of a huge refining process. So say if we wanted to make max amount of these, this would take a work fee of just around 2,000 and the work time of about an hour and a half roughly for 390 sugarcane. But we could use that rum for deliveries and other things as well. Now for our next station, we have the order registry. Now the order registry is basically deliveries. Now what that means is basically you are going to need a certain amount of resource or an item, and you're going to have to take it to this one location. Now they did kind of nerf these recently, as there was a bug with 2 of them. You probably saw it if you're already a Kingpin, but there was one of them where, or 2 of them actually, where they only required, or on paper it said it took 80 of them, but it only required 1. So these next ones, if it says, like for example, this needs 69, you will need to bring 69 to this location. Now some of these can be located close to outposts, so you don't need to carry the product on you, but you will need, for example, I will need 65 Blue Lotus opium for this one quest, and I will be rewarded with 81 pieces of 8 and 50 infamy, which is not a lot of infamy, but the pieces of 8 are pretty nice. Now when you do take one of these orders or delivery orders, you cannot fast travel anymore. So there's no longer any possibility of you just fast traveling over there and just getting it done immediately. You will need to go from point A to B. So from here, we'll have to go from St. Anne to our destination. And by doing that, we're also going to be running to NPCs. Now, this is arguably one of the best farms in the game at the moment. So if you do test these out, do note you will be running into equal level NPCs. But they do have phenomenal loot, including raw material that is worth sinking them for. For our next station, you have the supply network. Now the supply network is really what it sounds like. This is basically a bounty board for supplies. Now, if you haven't noticed, every other outpost has a Helm liaison that you can talk to or you can't talk to. But some of these liaisons will sell you raw material in bulk and will give you a flat silver for that amount that they sell. So, for example, this NPC in Pillar Tomb for 52 poppy, you can buy this for 600 silver, which is a really good deal, actually. I think there's a few of these that actually are selling sugarcane for 1200. So 105 sugarcane for 1200 silver. That's pretty good. This is going to be very heavy. I think it's a combined weight of around like 12,600. So it's not too bad, but for example, this sugarcane we could easily flip into rum, and that rum we can make into something else, and then we can actually sell it for silver and make way more than what we paid for. But basically they are wholesalers, if that makes any sense. Now from the liaison tab, we're going to go to attacks. Now, if you are looking for more of a exciting way of getting these materials and not just buying them at wholesale, you can go to one of these locations and basically fight a certain faction, a rogue hunt essentially, for different factions. So this one has, for 50 juniper berries, you have to fight a fleet of worms. For this one, you have the Ganets, orcas, and each of these factions also have a chance at dropping a rogue material, which can be used for crafting later on, for certain things like epics and stuff like that. Some epic blueprints do require some of these materials, so not the worst thing to do, but I haven't really done these in quite some time, but they are fun though, and they are pretty quick. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit more epic in scale and scope, you can actually attack some of these forts, and these forts are, quite honestly, they're kind of fun. They give a crap ton of infamy when you're doing them, and they are worth kind of just doing at least once, and you are handsomely rewarded with a lot of material, and in this case 600 juniper berries at a combined weight of 24,000. It's pretty fun. They're definitely worth doing, and if you're lucky, some of these do stack. As you can see here, if I stack these up, we can actually get 600 poppies, 600 juniper berries, which is kind of insane actually. I may even do that after I'm done with this video actually, because that's kind of nuts. That's a lot of raw material. I'll probably need to bring out a different boat, but that's a lot of weight as well. So do keep that in mind, that these materials are very heavy. But if you like exciting events and you want to be handsomely rewarded, so attacks are definitely worth it. Now for the meat of this entire Helm network, this is where it's all going to start. Now you can access this through a different method, but we're going to be going through this table here, which is the Helm Empire overview. Okay, so at a glance, this looks pretty overwhelming. It's really not that bad, and luckily the quest line does kind of explain it to you. If you listen to the NPCs, they do a great job of explaining it. But basically the way it works is you're going to need to, basically the more territories the better, the more income you can make. The way this works is when you are starting the Helm process, you're basically granted a couple of locations, and you're probably confused what exactly all this does. Now the pieces of 8 is essentially the end game currency. There's 2 of them. There's going to be the sovereigns that you see on the right here, and then on the left, that's pieces of 8. Now each of these manufactories can be upgraded to have more storage and to have better output. But if you see on the information here on the right side, if we have these funded for 2 hours, each hour, for example, this one particular location will produce 49 pieces of 8 an hour. So for 2 hours, basically we'll get more than we'll get pretty much our maximum amount pretty quickly. Now if we wanted to boost this, you could essentially take 71 juniper berries to this location and boost it by 200%, which quite honestly I wouldn't even bother doing. I would just make that into something else, then sell it for silver. Again, unless you're like, you have one location that just fell behind and you're just waiting on that one, I wouldn't bother boosting personally. Now taking a look at this other bit of information here, you can see the upgrade. Now if we were to upgrade this from a 3 to a 4, our production would increase by 4 per hour, giving us 53 per hour, and our storage size would be increased to 110, which is pretty good. Now personally, I like to upgrade everything from 3 to 4. I think that's a good base for now, as I do want to focus on a different section. Now, for those that are curious as to how exactly you get these, each region outside of the Red Isle will cost you 5,000, which seems like a staggering amount on, you know, it seems like a lot. It does seem like a lot, but quite honestly, 5,000 is a very low amount. It adds up very quickly. Even at this little run right here, I think nets me just under 2K. If you do a full run, I think it's like 1,600, I think. But the thing, you know, the worst part of it is it does take time, so do keep that in mind. But each of these regions do cost 5,000 to purchase and to earn, or the ability to see the takeovers. So now you're probably wondering, Mix, there's a lot of information. How does this work? Well, basically, once you start this mechanic, you are going to be granted with takeover opportunities. Now, there's two different types. There's going to be hostile takeovers, like you see here, which are basically King of the Hill events. They are PvP enabled, small areas where you can contest both AI and other players for this one area. And at the end of it, your reward will be the location that you're currently fighting for. Now, some of these areas, depending on where they are, do come with already levels upgraded to them. Like, for example, if I got this location right here, it would be level 2, whereas these, if I was to get them, would be level 1. Not that that means really anything, but it does save you a little bit of Helm coin. But eventually you are going to want every one of these regardless. My recommendation through these, honestly, if the legendary heists are up, I would do those. It's very easy to do. So like I mentioned earlier, there's two takeover opportunities. You have the hostile takeovers, which are PvP focused, which are really, really fun if you like PvP. But if you don't like PvP, there's legendary heists, which are basically merchant convoys. With this one, you just need to kill one NPC, the one named one. You'll see it by the gold, you know, the gold hull and the shimmering off of it. Just sink that one, grab the cargo and run, basically, because you'll just be swarmed by AI if you don't, and they really hurt. So for that one, it's really simple. Just kill the NPC, go to the destination, and easy peasy. Now, I'm not going to flood you with the min-maxing part of this. To be honest, I'd say do take over opportunities every time you can, or every chance you can. They spawn every 30 minutes real world time. So every 30 minutes on the dot, if you have manufacturers that still need to be unlocked, these will pop up. But once you basically get all of them, these don't pop up anymore, unfortunately, which is kind of a missed opportunity by Ubisoft. Hopefully they do look at these as maybe like a reoccurring thing for upgrading, but for now they only happen when you do need these. So once you start to get, example for Red Isle, once you get all of these, the only thing you really have to do is upgrade, collect, and kind of really just put more money into it. So the more money you put into this in terms of upgrading, the better your return will be. There is other things you can do here to further those gains, and that is going to be upgrades. Now, these are basically more passive upgrades. Now, ignore this on the left side here, as it is a bug. They already confirmed this on Twitter. They just haven't patched this out yet. But basically, if you are wanting to get better gains on your trade routes or your map, you need to invest some coin, unfortunately, and it gets very expensive very quickly. But for example, on the very last tab here, you're going to want to look at this Empire Management, which efficient shipping, which increases the profit bonus for established trade routes by 10%. I would focus on getting this one. Then if you want to go into the tier 2 of this, tier 3 of this, you can. But for example, I'm doing this myself, and it's going to cost me 1,800 just for this, and then it's just going to get more and more expensive as time goes on. But this is worth putting time in, Helm coins in. Personally, I didn't do that as I wasn't sure if this was a bug, but they did confirm that this is not going to reset for at least 90 days. Definitely worth putting some points into and getting these passive gains. So hopefully you guys understand the Helm mechanic. It's really not that hard. It's a bit overwhelming on the surface, but really all you got to do is get your manufacturers going, get those passive gains going, fund them with some silver. Then once they are full, unfortunately, you do need to go and collect them. And that's where I would say try to focus on how you can min-max your routes. You know what I mean? Instead of doing a full thing like I typically do on stream, try to cut it in half. Cut it in half, do half of it, go return it, do the other half, rinse, repeat. That way you're not just doing these long routes, because if you do a full long run, honestly, it takes quite some time. I think these usually take around 30 to 40 minutes, but the currency you gain is so worth it because again, you can buy blueprints, you can buy weapons, you can trade for things as well. Like you can trade items with pieces of 8 to other players if you want to, and stuff like that. But regardless, you're going to want to focus on this. My suggestion again is to upgrade everything to around 3 or 4. Try to get yourself either the coast of Africa or the East Indies, and then start spreading out a little bit and just slowly improve your routes and increase your manufactories, and then just eventually make sure you pull all your pieces of 8 from their from the locations. So there you guys have it. That is basically the Helm overview explanation. I try to keep it as simple as I can, but it is quite a bit of information to digest. But basically, you're basically just a glorified Amazon delivery driver for now until season 2 or 3, I believe, where they're rumored to maybe have some automation in this. But for now, it seems like a very boring activity, but man, there's some fun things that can happen when you're doing these. Then if you decide to do a double down with you and your friends or just by yourself, and you want to risk it for the biscuit basically and double your profits while fighting everybody off, that could be so much fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know down in the comment section below. Maybe provide us with a like or dislike, that's fine too. If you guys want to see more Skull and Bones content, we do stream over on Twitch. We've been playing this exclusively and just having a great time. Honestly, the vibes have been immaculate. People have been cool. But if you want to tune in, you can go to twitch.tv/MixelPlx, and we'll be doing everything from PvP to PvE, doing the Helm stuff, and really just getting ready for season 1 whenever it does decide to drop. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.